Welcome back, everybody. Another week of Up North Journal.
We're back.
We are back.
Second Sunday in October.
Yeah, and I still haven't been in the tree stand.
No, we have not been out yet, but that's okay because we're going to get there eventually.
It's coming. It's coming
Right.
quick. It won't be long. That's definitely for sure.
Absolutely. I can't wait.
So we're going to get a couple shares out of the way here real quick, and once we get our feet up and running here, looks like a couple of people are starting to already pile in here. Numbers are going up, and then we will get going.
Yeah, we'll get going and have our guest on tonight. And
absolutely. So let me get to our page here, get this out of the way, and we will get rocking with tonight's show.
oh, get rid of this.
You all right there?
Hey, I just had to make a.
Yeah?
I just had to make a wardrobe adjustment.
You had a wardrobe malfunction?
No malfunction.
I don't want to see or hear about that.
Just adjustment.
Okay, all right. As long as we got that clear.
Calm down.
Just want to make sure that we all understand that.
Right.
All right. Let me get my share out of the way, and my part will be done.
Give me a second.
Well, I thought it would be. Oh wait, here we go. And change that. Fire that off. Okay. Hopefully everybody's having a good week this week.
Absolutely.
Weather's been pretty decent here in Michigan. The colors are starting to change. It won't be long, and arrows will be flying fast and furious. All right, Mark Coleman, once again, he's in the house. He's ready to go. He says, let's do this. He's ready to go. So, Danny, you let me know when it's a go.
I will do that.
Hopefully everybody's got their questions. Charles Byram is in the house tonight. He is with us. Congrats on the archery kills there, Charles. Seen that you posted this week. I assume you were in the tree saddle, as usual.
Right?
So, where are you sitting at, Danny?
I'm almost
you good?
there.
All right.
Almost there.
Getting there. Okay.
Yep, let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Let me start the record. And stand by at 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal. Everybody, host Mike Adams sitting in the cabin tonight on a glorious Sunday evening here in Michigan.
Absolutely. We are back.
Great weather. I seen critters stirring all day today. Seen a lot of turkey. I've seen some deer. All right. It appears that we are back.
Are we back?
I hope so. It looks like we are. Hopefully everybody can see us here. For whatever reason, the internet just wanted to quit, so we threw it to a break real quick, and we're going to jump back into it here. And we've got Bill back with us here. He never left. We left. That's the problem. So
Right?
It's my fault somehow. That I can 100% take credit for.
we're not going to blame you for it. No, we can't put that one on you. It's the internet here. There's just been a couple quirky little things going on with Facebook here in the last 3 weeks, and I think that might be part of it. So,
Right?
Yeah, I've noticed it's weird. I've gone on to, check the notifications, and they're almost in a different font. And then, it's flipped back and forth, not by my doing.
right, everything's different. So, yeah, and we're having to sort it all out. But, all right, we're going to get started here with the second segment of the show. Here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Second segment of the show. For those of you on the live stream, we're back on. And for those of you on the podcast, we threw real quick to a break so we could get the internet fixed. We're back up and running here. So before we left for the break, though, when we dropped off the internet, we were talking a little bit about your doe hunt. So let's back up a little bit. And Danny, ask your question again.
Yeah, so, when did your season open up in Illinois?
October 1st.
Okay, so you got a doe right off the bat.
Within the first hour, yes.
There you go. So
That
the first hour you were done doe hunting.
Yeah.
You gotta like that.
In Illinois, we can shoot as many doe as we want. We're limited to 2 bucks.
Okay.
Whether it be during gun season or archery. You could take 1 archery and 1 gun, or 2 archery, and that's it for the buck situation. And I know some of the counties up north have the late antlerless hunt, where it's somewhat of the potential CWD areas up there more toward the Wisconsin line, all the way up north, and there's a few scattered counties from me north a little bit, but when you get up toward that Wisconsin line, that's where they've got the majority of those late winter hunts to try to. I don't know if that's actually a solution for it or not. I don't think anybody knows, to be honest with you, because you can ask 10 different guys and they're going to tell you 10 different things.
Yeah, we've had many discussions, spent a lot of time here talking on the show about that. So let's talk about some good stuff.
Right, exactly. So
I don't even want to get into that contest per se, because it's nothing good's going to happen with it.
No, it's a minefield.
No, it's a minefield, and up in the UP where I hunt, I can't shoot does, and there's a whole big thing about it, and it just makes me boil.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say we don't have enough deer, and because they were going to allow it, then they changed the rule a little bit because I have so much snow for X amount of days, and I can't shoot a doe. But I can look at wolves and coyotes and bears, oh my, all over the place. So, anyway.
Wow. Hey, that's weird. And I mean, I would one of the products I use, Zeus broadheads. The inventor is up in New Jersey, and they have a program where it's earn a buck. So you actually have to shoot a doe first before you can even lay into a buck. And I mean, it's weird hearing all over the nation what the different regulations are. And
it is amazing that what you just said is one of the conversations that has been all over the board of what can we do to be for the deer better and whatnot. And one of the solutions was earn a buck. Oh no, we can't do that. Let's try. No, can't do that. Let's try. No, can't do. It is a political minefield how it works up here in Michigan, and it's one of those things you just.
All right, enough talking about politics. Let's get into some good stuff.
It's just one of those things. So you got your doe, and you know what? You must have been using Lumenok on them, right?
I might have.
Okay, so what color were you using?
That one was a pink, which actually glows more red. The nock itself is colored pink, so thusly the name of Pink Lumenok. Once it's activated, it in my eyes it glows red. Some people say it's an off pink, whatever you want to call it. It's bright.
And one of the things I know with a lighted nock, I would assume that you want is a bright light. So when you shoot the thing, and it's either in the deer running away or it went through the deer, you see where it went.
Yep.
And was your shot on this doe a pass through?
No, it was actually a very odd one. I had a broadside shot, and it was at about 60 yards. I got my 60-yard line on her, and I don't know if she did a little bit of a move to the right, and instead of hitting behind the shoulder, it went in right in front of the right shoulder, and that's the way that I found her on the ground about 50 yards later. And the only thing that was sticking out of the deer was the fletching and the nock, which was a pretty cool picture, mind you.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
A little bit on the gory side, a little bit of blood coming out. I mean, really not the washed off pick or anything like that. But I mean, I found her within 50 yards after the shot, and I mean, I'd been playing, with that crossbow pretty much about daily, and I mean, I know I was every time. So the only thing I can figure out is that she heard, that. When I shot, and she just moved just a few inches, and that's where it caught her, and broken scapula, broken ribs, double lung and heart shot. She she wasn't going to go far.
Oh, awesome. Well, good. And you have the live knock to lead the way, right? So speaking of Lumenok, let's go through. You got one. Can you take us through the construction of Lumenok, how they're kind of constructed and how they fit into the Arrow?
Yep. Well, as far as it goes, the owners and inventors of the entire lighted knock category wanted to keep it as simple as humanly possible. They didn't want moving parts that can fail. They didn't want anything else on it that can fail. It's a very simple concept, much like a light switch in your house. They require a carbon arrow, a full carbon arrow. Because carbon is conductive, to be able to complete the circuit, because the Lumenoks have two little tabs sticking out each side, if I could talk, of the knock. And once they come in contact with that, the carbon arrow, it completes the circuit. Thusly, the light comes on, and it turns on from a minimum of 20 pounds of pressure, that little bit on the low side there, but it will activate depending on how they're installed. And one of the biggest things that I have over the last couple years had to deal with was I'm not too politically correct. I'm straightforward, so I'm just going to let it rip. Most of the problems that I've heard about have been, an operator or installation error. And that's why the owners have this great thing here that comes with every single pack of Nocks. This is not instructions. This is stuff you must know. So it's okay for guys to read them. They're allowed to. It's not instruction, so it's okay. We can actually read it.
Nice.
But I do. That's going to cover 98% of any kind of problems that people were having. If there was too tight a fit, there's some raised notches on the shaft of the knock, and you can actually shave those down with a sharp knife or a razor, obviously being careful not to slice yourself in the process, but that's what they're there for. We want a tight fit. We don't want too tight where you're, 200 pounds a guy trying to, use all your weight to get the knock into the arrow.
You want a nice snug fit.
Yeah, you don't want it too loose either. I've heard stories that, and it hasn't been with Lumenok, but if they had, I've heard, the knock stayed on the draw line, and you don't want that to happen either. But like I said, Lumenok requires a full carbon arrow or bolt for that matter. To be able to complete the circuit, much like the light switch in your house. It's made simply. There's no moving parts on it, no tools necessary to turn the knock off, although there is a pretty neat little one that I do like to use on a regular basis, and that would be this little thing here. It's called the knock extinguisher. It's also an arrow puller. So if you go to your buddy's house and he's got a stubborn target, I carry this around just clipped right on my arrow in my quiver, or in either quiver on the crossbow, or on my target quiver and on my hunting quiver. And if you've got slippery hands after you've taken a deer and you want to shut your knock off, well, this thing comes in really handy. And like I said, even go to your buddy's house and that stubborn target, you have an arrow puller with you.
Dual purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. And all right, here's the green. All right.
Oh, that's pretty bright coming through the screen on. It's pretty bright.
Yeah, but realistically, thumb, forefinger, wiggle it just a wee little bit to break that contact, and the knock's off. No moving parts, no tools, no nothing. The other cool thing is this extinguisher put it on. You got the ears of the nock up, down, or however you want to do it, sideways. I usually go up, down. You put your extinguisher on there, give it a quick little shake, and boom, it's off.
Nice.
A little shake and it's gone.
Well, we got a couple of questions coming in here for you. That we got some viewers here asking. First one is how long? So let's say you shoot at a deer, and you go out to track it, but you leave the arrow laying there on the ground, so you know where your point of reference is to start. How long will that nock stay lit once it's turned on?
On an average, 40 continuous hours. And I've shot a deer, and I've found the arrow and the nock actually about 9 days later. And I mean, it was dim as anything, but it was enough in the dark for me to be able to find that arrow. But on the average, 40 continuous hours. So if you take a deer in the morning, and you can't find the arrow or the bolt, you can leave it lay until it gets dark out again, and walk out and get your arrow without any kind of a problem. Turn it off, put it back in your quiver, and it's ready to go for the next morning.
Okay, and then we got a question here from Mark Coleman. You actually mentioned you're talking about bolts, and he's got a question. He said he just ordered the flat nocks for his crossbow. Any tips on using them or installing them, because he's hearing mixed reviews about how they fit? Can you give him some advice about installation on his crossbow bolts?
Okay, well, does he have the Lumenok package there?
That's a good question. Don't know. Maybe we'll get something.
He just
ordered them.
He just ordered them, so he's just kind of hearing things about them. He ordered them.
Oh, he's not received them yet?
Not yet.
He just ordered them today.
So what should he be looking for when he gets that package?
It just the same thing when he gets that package, whether it's this style, the fold open one, or if he gets a plastic one, it'll have this insert in it. And like I said, if you go through that stuff you must know, that's going to eliminate any kind of the majority, 98% of any kind of problems or issues that you're going to have with any kind of installation. First thing, if they're a little bit on the tight side, you can actually use beeswax, a crayon, candle wax as a little bit of lubrication to get the knockdown into the shaft of that arrow or bolt, whatever the case may be. It's the same thing, bolts or compound arrows. Other than that, if it's still a bit too tight, that's where you're going to get into the shaving the set thing. And right when you pull that nock out of that package, you can feel around the shaft of it. You'll feel the raised, I guess, hot notches or something. You'll feel them, and then you just, you get the razor, just shave it off just a little bit, try it again, and then, it should start sliding in a little bit easier. But like I said, we want a very snug fit, but we don't, want something that it's going to take, 200 pounds of guy on the top of an arrow to get that in there. Yeah.
Exactly. I get it. Just snug.
And once again, they're not instructions, they're things you need to know.
Things to know, like a checklist.
Must know.
Right.
Things you must know, because guys don't read instructions.
Yep. You showed us a green one. What colors do Lumenoks all come in?
Well, there's 3 different colors. You've got pink, HD orange, and green. With the pink Nocks, which actually I see the best, you have a part of that purchase price. Those pink Nocks actually gets donated to St. Jude's Children's Hospital and helping out those great kids over there, man. I mean, it's a win-win. I mean, they're bright as heck. The kids get a donation for a lot of stuff that they need, and it's a great program, and that's one of the things that I really do love about that situation. And but what's kind of cool is at the shows that I do, you'll have three guys that come up and one saying, okay, well, I don't see this when I walk 20 feet away And then each of those guys could say that they either see, one says they see green better, one says HD orange is better, and then the other one pink is better.
Ah,
So
gotcha.
it's kind of one of those interesting things that you can do at shows, and it's just, it's just kind of fun to do, and because they don't realize it. I've had guys come up and say, well, yeah, they're not bright, this, that, the other. And I'm like, well, what color? What color did you have? And he said, they say green. I'm like, well, hold on a second. Let me walk away. And they're like, wow, I see that HD orange a lot better. I'm like, everybody's eyes are different.
That's
and
right.
And how they see colors.
Absolutely, that's a true statement about seeing different colors. But I notice also, we're looking at the website right now, that not one Lumenok is created equal, because you've got S Nocks, H Nocks, GT Nocks, and X Nocks. What's that all about?
GT 0.246 for gold. The majority of gold tip arrows. There's one or two that are a little bit on the odd size, and I right now it's escaping my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But then the 244 and 245 are the S Nock, and that's going to be the majority of arrows out there. The H is 0.234. And the X is 0.204 inner diameter on the shafts. And if you're someone who likes to shoot the micro diameter ones, we actually make an adapter called the H adapter.
Okay.
And what that is you'll have to call the office directly and give them the information on your arrow, your micro diameter shafts, and then they custom make those adapters
And
per order.
right, you're talking, from what I'm looking at, we're looking at actually I went to the website and I went to the Nock selector, and we're looking at the different sizes that you have, and that Lumenok H with the Nock adapter says 4 millimeters ish, but like you said, just simply call the office and find out what you need for your small diameter.
Yep, they custom make those adapters per order. There's not a stock of them, because there's so many different arrows that have been coming out here in the micro diameter, size here as of, the last few years. They seem to be making a big comeback. I mean, I remember, heck, probably 15 plus years ago, they were a big thing coming in, and and they kind of just, faded by the wayside. And now it seems they're making a little bit of a comeback. But that H adapter fits that 0.234 knock. And reason that adapter is made is the fact that Lumenok will not sacrifice quality to make a small enough knock to fit into that shaft. They'd have to take away too much of the material, which would make it way less durable than what Lumenok is known for.
Right,
and
exactly. So they're not going to throw it down the drain. Their reputation, their name, everything they're built on, just for that.
Yep.
Well, I tell you what. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Those adapters get sent to you with a little piece of sandpaper to prep your arrow, glue, and the instructions on how to go ahead and glue those outserts onto your arrows, and then the rest is the same process in the stuff you must know, not instructions. The stuff you must know that comes in every package of the Lumenoks, whether it be bolts or crossbow nocks or compound.
Okay, well, we got a couple questions here, but we want to save them. We're going to take a break real quick, step outside. When we come back, we got 2 questions here, at least right now. If we get some more in the break, then we'll ask them when we come back. So we'll be right back after this. All right, folks, anybody on the line there? If we got some more questions.
Looks like we're lining up some crossbow questions.
Yeah.
So coming up in our next segment, we'll be talking, obviously, crossbow and, a future question.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that one.
You seen that one?
Yes, I did. All right. Save this one off. And here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Second segment of the, or third segment of the
Third
show.
segment of the
Third
show.
segment of the show. I'm getting behind myself here.
Right.
So I had a little bit of technical difficulty to get started with. I'm kind of confused here.
I know.
But we've got some questions piling here for you.
We talked about the Nocks for the regular bows being you go to the Nocks selector. Let's talk about the crossbow one, because basically there's really two, right? You've got the half moons and you've got the flats, correct? Is that how?
No, Parker is what's called a capture, which is pretty. Just for lack of a better description, it's pretty comparable to what you'd expect on like a compound knock that'll slide on the string, more U-shaped. Then there's a crescent, and then there's the flat. And a lot of people that they may prefer the flat over the crescent, but the capture knocks were generally made for Parker bows, and or Parker crossbows rather. And then as long as there's a Parker bow out there, we will make the capture knocks for those bows. Just because the company went out of business doesn't mean that we're not going to help them get the right knock for the crossbow that they have.
Exactly. So what colors does the crossbow ones come in?
Same green, HD orange, and pink, and it's the same deal with St. Jude's on the crossbow side too.
Okay, that is awesome. So we got the same colors for the crossbow. Now, questions for the crossbow. We got coming in. First off, one question about the whole entire line. Is there any plans, do you know of making a blinker or maybe a strobe type knock for the future of Lumenok?
That I can't. I don't know 100%, but
Okay.
I know as of right now, that they're not really planning on it. As far as it goes, when you're getting into stuff like that, you're having to add extra battery power, and then as you add extra battery power, you're adding more weight to the back end of that arrow that you're going to have to compensate for. And our batteries now, like I said, have a continuous runtime of 40 hours, and there's been a lot of testing done to make these colors. They're the ones that are the majority that stand out the best to most people. And they don't want to have to go to a two battery system to be able to do that, and that's just that's kind of just the way that it is right now. And I can't speak 100% for the future, but as of right now, I'm not aware of anything that's going to be into any different colors than what we already make, or getting into that flashing thing. And I really haven't heard anything about the the Bluetooth aspect.
Oh yeah, there's also, they got the Bluetooth out there. Another question: do you have any preference between the half moon and the flats? What's your opinions of it?
As far as that goes, that's going to be user preference. I personally shoot the crescent. It seems to work for me. I've heard some people say that, with the crescent on there, they, the back of the bolt is raised up a little bit or something like that, and then they prefer the flat because of that reason. A lot of it's user preference. I mean, just like, what arrow size do you want to use? Again, user preference. And I mean, you get, like I said, the GT, those are gold tip, and those actually only come in orange and green. because of the, I guess, the mold being so similar, the pink, I guess, would get very confusing. And I'm kind of confused on that story myself. I've heard it a couple different ways, but either way, like I said, the GT only comes in the HD orange or the green, but, every other one comes in all three colors, including all the compound bolts or crossbow bolts. And same thing on that Nocks selector. You can select compound or crossbow, your model of your arrow, and the manufacturer of that arrow or bolt, and it'll take you to the area where you need then you make the choice on what color or what style you want to use. And a lot of them, they have all three. You can use crescent, flat, or even capture on a lot of them. And so it really is personal preference.
Okay.
There you go. So with that being said, do you, if you use a half moon, do you use a flat? Is there any change that you need to do if you're using one or the other? If you start off using the half moons, and let's say you get flats, is there going to be any difference between the two in your crossbow if you've got one of each and you're going to shoot them? Or
you know what? I've actually never done. But now that you brought it up, I'll actually probably go ahead and do that. Maybe do a video on it here in the future. I'll get a set of flats and install them and maybe give it a rip at that point. But as far as I know, no, it's really user preference. I mean, yeah.
With making things weight forward and loading on the front end of an arrow, front of center and things of that nature. I mean, when we're talking about the nock, there's very little weight there, but what do those actually weigh compared to a regular nock? Do you know?
They're about 10 grains heavier than a normal nock that comes in, whatever stock arrows that you get. I believe they come in at 24 or 26 grains, and then I believe the average nock is somewhere right about 14.
Okay.
So I mean, it really, when you're coming down to something in the aspect of that little bit of grain, I've not noticed anything really different when I go out shoot 40, 60 yards, and I'll pull a stock nock out, put a new Lumenok in, and I'll still be right where I need to be. And I mean that's just so minuscule. I mean that's like you put several dashes of salt into your palm, and that's going to come out. That's going to come out to be that grain difference. And yeah, some people they're very concerned about it. But in my experience and in my opinion, I've not seen any flight differences or any adjustments that I needed to make. They were I swapped them out and they were 3 inches low. No, I've not seen anything like that at all. And I can't tell you what's going to happen at 150 yards. But I know I shoot 60 pretty regularly, and I have no issue. I'll pull, like I said, the nock that came in the arrow, put in my Lumenok, and it's off to the races. And that's about all I got on that.
Okay, well, we got a statement here from one of our listeners who we actually know, and he is a former bow mechanic, worked at one of the shops here in the area, and he says, talking about the crossbows, what we're just talking about switching from like a half moon to a flat nock, and he's saying that the tolerances on these are really tight, and he says you need to be very careful when switching from what the manufacturer actually suggests, because he's actually seen some come in with some damage done by switching because of the actual end user didn't like the style. So he said before you start switching back and forth, he said you need to really pay attention to that and stick with what the manufacturers are putting on the ends of their bolts. So I think that's pretty good advice. Maybe talk to your pro shop before you do something like that to make sure it's okay.
Oh yeah, Yeah, and I mean when you go onto that Nocks selector, you go into the the catalog, and the tolerances are, if Lumenok makes them, they can operate on on that specific bolt in that size, and if they're listed across the board, say .300 GTC, which is the crescent, the GT F, which is the flat, and then you got the capture. And if those are listed across the board, they're designed to be able to deal with those tolerances that are made by said crossbow manufacturer.
Exactly. That's one of the things. Always be careful. Always check your, some, especially this day and age with tolerances and everything, that how Swiss watch type things we're getting. Just that little bit. You don't need an accident to happen because of could be just what you were feeling that day. And just make sure when you go ahead, if you're going to do it, make sure with the manufacturer what they prefer before you make a change. And usually they do. They'll say, hey, use half moons, or you can use flats, but don't just go on a whim change. Make sure with the manufacturer first. Make sure it's a safety thing. You don't need it blowing up in your face.
We'll call a customer service line.
Yep.
I mean, as far as it goes, if you go on that Nocks selector and it says you can use the GTF or the GTC or whatever, the Nocks are made significantly thicker for the crossbow than they are for the actual compound arrows, given the fact that crossbows are very realistically real soon. I think they're going to be in the 500 foot per second area, and I mean most of these days are right around 350 to 400 feet per second. And the Nocks that Lumenok makes, they're significantly thicker than what the average compound nock is. So they're designed to not explode, and that is definitely something that we do not want to happen.
No, not at all.
But then on the flip side of that, if you call the manufacturer, and the Nocks that came in the bolts that came with that crossbow, they're obviously going to recommend you can only use these products. Well, that I don't want to say anything negative about it, but if you could say that about any kind of product out there with any kind of variance, because the company wants you to use their products. And as far as it goes, say Raven crossbows, we have a contract with them. We are the OEM manufacturer of the crossbow, the Raven bolt Nocks.
Okay.
And so, as far as that goes, that is, you can only buy those through Raven, but we are the original manufacturer of those. And, that being the case, we, the name is still on, the package made by Lumenok, but, they're still, up some of the best crossbows out there. I mean, you don't get, these days anything, it's getting better all the way down the line in the crossbow area.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely everything is getting better in all the lines, whether it be a bow or crossbow. But I tell you what, we got to make our last break, and when we come back, we've got another question for you about the beginning of Lumenok.
All right, we're going to step outside and we'll take a break. We'll be right back after this.
Yep, I'll go ahead and light up the arrows, show the different colors, and
all right. Okay, let's save this one off. Good questions tonight, everybody.
Yeah, good questions.
And Kyle, thanks for your comment as well.
Always be safe.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 100%. We always strive for around here, and what we do, and whether you're got arrows or you got guns or you got tree stands.
Right, safety, and I mean, even on if you go to the store and pick up a Lumenok package, on the back of each of the inserts or on the actual cardboard packaging in this case. On the back, all of the different manufacturers and models of the Nocks are listed right on the back there too. So you can see it either on the packaging, on the Nock selector, part on the website, or if you have a Lumenok, you can go ahead and look anything like that up. So I mean, the information is right at their fingertips at any given point in time.
Right. So it's one of those things. Just make sure, like you said, best thing to do is go to the website, obviously, because that Nock selector is pretty cool.
Right.
You type it in and it's good to go.
Right, and again with the sizes, you know what I mean, because you get into the crossbow bolts and stuff like that. You got 0.301, 0.300, 0.2019 or something like that. A really goofball size, but yeah, you don't want to be putting Nocks in that are the incorrect size. That's the first and foremost thing. If you have a Barnett Headhunter bolt, 0.300. Although there is, Barnett has kind of switched around a little bit with that stuff. So there's actually two sizes of Nocks for those, but just say for the Headhunter 0.300 size, that you can do the flat, the crescent, or even the even the capture, if it comes down to it, and if it's, if that's your preference, but all the information's all there.
Okay, so all right, so we're gonna come back to this last segment. We got another question for you, so ready to go?
Yep, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Last segment of the show. We got a lot of good questions coming in tonight. A lot of good stuff. So, got a couple more that's just popped in here in the break.
Actually, one of the. Okay, so the first question is, how long has Lumenok been around?
Well, to my knowledge, the Price brothers, Mr. Eric Price and Mr. Curtis Price, basically had a similar situation to what many of us have had in the past. And they're out hunting, they blow through a deer, and you're out a broadhead, you're out an arrow. And they're like, well, I want to do something to change this. And I believe the idea started coming out in like 1998, and they were in big, getting onto the store shelves, I believe in 2002 is when all of that was said and done. And, I started shooting them within 3 or 4 years afterwards, and I was, I didn't know if it was a gimmick or what the deal was. So I mean, honestly, I watched all these hunting shows, and Lumenok's getting more press and more press and more press, and as they stuck around for a year, 2, 3, I was like, well, maybe there's something to this. And then on the hunt right before I went out and actually bought a couple of packs back in, I think it was 2005 or 2006, and I'd shot 2 deer, and I recovered the deer. I couldn't find my arrows. Broadhead, arrow, gone. The other one, is archers, we never miss. But,
Right.
It's the arrow's fault, the bow's fault, the east wind at 7 miles an hour. I can't tell you what happened, but I launched one somewhere into oblivion somehow. I think my release slipped off. And, so I was out 3 arrows that year. And I mean, I didn't have any thoughts of finding the ones that I launched into the stratosphere. But the other 2, I mean, they should have been recoverable, somewhat behind that deer. And, you get under the leaves or a shot goes into the thicket, after it passes through or whatnot. And, we all love, digging through all those wild rose thorns and,
Right.
Everything else. That's our favorite to deal with. We like looking. We got like we got attacked by a cat. After we were trying to find our arrows after a pass through, and well, finally on that year, I was just like, I'm done. I'm gonna go give these things a try, and since then it's been Lumenok. Lumenok's been in all my arrows. They're made to practice with.
Right,
hundreds.
exactly. So 18 years in
You
the
know?
business, they kind of know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're made to be practiced with.
Exactly. And another question, speaking of years, what about temperature? Does single-digit temperatures affect them at all? Like if it's 0 degrees out, are we going to have an effect on the lightedness, or how they're functioning, or
Not that I've seen. Even in Southern Illinois, I mean, we're on an average about 10 degrees in the fall and in the winter time. We're roughly about 10 degrees warmer. But I mean, I've been out, 0 degrees and even into the negatives, and I've taken deer, and I've never had an issue. As far as it goes with not lighting up or not lighting up for that matter. So that's I mean, from my personal experience.
Personal experience says no difference temperature wise, which is a good thing.
Yep.
That way you're not afraid to be out there when it is 0.
Well, I mean, I that's not my favorite time. I don't believe anybody's, but we all go into the woods looking like a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and it kind of is what it is, and kind of the torture that we put ourselves through. But the Lumenoks are made to be practiced with. They're made to be shot over and over and over again. And I mean, I quite honestly, I go out into my backyard, and I'm shooting. After the first 3 shots, the Nocks, I leave them on until I'm done. And the batteries are replaceable. Mm-hmm. It takes maybe about 2 minutes to do it. A very simple process by all means. As far as that goes, you remove the nock from the arrow, and depending on the nock, there's one different, which is the X nock. It's kind of got an L-shaped bracket underneath that holds the battery in that way. But the rest of them, there's a wire. You unwind that wire, wiggle the battery out, and you'll see a black O-ring that's on that battery. Lumenoks are waterproof. You can go bow fishing with a Lumenok.
Nice.
They are, as far as that goes, and then you just you simply pull the arrow, knock out, or the battery out of the nock, and that O-ring. The batteries come in a 2-pack. It's like 2 for $5 or $5 or something like that. And I mean, as far as that goes, and it's not a bad process to change it. You uncoil the wire, pull that battery out, and then I do recommend, from experience again, do the swap over of the O-rings on a light surface, or even lay out a paper towel, because that little black O-ring in that circumstance is gold. And
right.
if it drops onto a darker carpet, or just goes under something, chances on you finding it before the vacuum cleaner are pretty much about as much as high as you go, and get a lottery ticket, and it's a bad deal. So a white paper towel, white countertop, however you want to do it. That O-ring is gold in that circumstance.
Hey, we just got a comment here from one of our guys. Kyle says, done that before, actually, highly recommended. He says that's an awesome tip.
Yeah, no, it's, again, speaking from experience, and you're sitting there with the nock you can't use, because the battery's not going to, it's not going to retain itself in there. But as far as it goes, you swap that O-ring out to the new battery, and you can use saliva a little bit for lubrication, because rubber going into plastic,
right.
they're, and they don't like to cooperate together. So, I always just, give it a little saliva, work it back up in there. And then one of the ways that you can go ahead and test it to make sure that you have the battery installed correctly is use that wire you got out of the way now. Touch one of the contacts. One's a ground, one's a positive. So once you hit that positive one, the knock will light up. You'll see that you've got the battery installed correctly. Wrap that wire right around the battery, put that knock back in your arrow, and you're ready to go for the next shot.
There you go, guys and gals. Sounds like some great advice on how to change the batteries out. So
Absolutely.
definitely. So we got any more questions here?
Their motto is you bought our product. We just want to maintain it years to come. Just like if you buy a car,
Right.
You go to the dealership, they say, hey, come back here for the oil changes.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the same thing at Lumenok. We don't want you to have to go out and buy another 3-pack of Nocks or anything
Right,
like
exactly.
that. We could just, buy a $5 or, $6, pair of batteries. Heck, I probably, as much as I shoot, I think I only go through 3 batteries a year. I always swap them out right before hunting season, and then I use them all the way through my, the off season and the spring and summertime. And, as they start to get dim, toward the end of the summertime or right before season, I swap them out. So, the runtime on them is just, it's great. Like I said, I shoot them. I don't turn them off until I get back in the house.
There you go.
There you go. Speaking of out of the house and up a tree and all that hunting stuff, got a couple questions for you. We typically ask this of all our interviewers. You're heading out to your tree stand. You're driving. What are you listening to on the radio?
Country.
Country it is. Old country, new country.
Old.
Old country. So we got an old country.
By far.
Okay.
We're going to get along just fine.
Right?
Yeah, the newer, and it's been around a long time, but like Toby Keith, Trace Adkins, guys like that, and then before Cash and Waylon and Highwaymen.
All right, so old country it is. Exactly. Yep. So you're listening to old country. What's your favorite snack to have while you're up in the tree or in your ground blind and you're waiting on that deer to come in? What's your favorite snack to have in the backpack?
With me, I can't tell you. It's kind of going to be based on that day, and if I eat breakfast before I go out, or if I don't, a lot of the time I just go out there with a few bottles of water, and I'll usually bring a sandwich and leave the sandwich in the truck or something, because most of the properties that I hunt, I'm a disabled able hunter, so I have stuff set up where it's going to be easier for me to walk to, and when I need to get out and I need to walk around, I'll go to the truck and grab the sandwich, or I'll stick it in my backpack with me, and heck, if I want it, it's there. If I don't, I'll bring it home, and it's dinner or it's ready for the next day.
Oh, okay, all right. So okay, so we got your country music. We've got your what you're gonna snack on maybe out in the woods. But now you invited Dan and Mike over for a dinner, and you're gonna make us dinner, and you're gonna make us what you would be your go-to maybe venison meal or something. What would be the go-to meal that you'd say, hey guys, I'm gonna make this for you?
I've got 2. One is I've got a pretty famous chili that I put out, and then the other one is actually breaded, tenderized venison cutlets, breaded with milk, egg, and bread, flour, and breadcrumbs. It's actually a German recipe that I use, and it's deep fried. And then it's got a red wine reduction or a brown
Almost
gravy.
like you're almost heading down like a stroganoff type thing.
Actually more like a schnitzel, believe it or not.
It's sounding good.
Pork tenderloin, same thing, same kind of process, depending on where you go to. If you've got a Bohemian restaurant or a German restaurant or anything by y'all up there, you can, go check that out. The Wiener Schnitzel, the pork tenderloin, the pork schnitzel, it's the same thing, but I do it with venison, sweet cabbage, and red boiled potatoes. And you'll be snoozing on the couch about 15 minutes after because of a food coma.
It sounds like it. I tell you what, that sounds good. Okay, last question we got for you. Well, you just fed us that meal. We're not going to be snoozing, though. We're going to be listening to one of your favorite, maybe a hunting story, or a story that comes to you that you're going to tell us. What would that story be?
Oh, wow. There's a bunch of them. Heck. I mean, and a lot of them are the resilience factors of the deer. Just the amazing things that I've seen that just, completely and totally blew my mind. Like, heck, I shot, with a shotgun, I shot a buck, dropped him, first shot, waited about an hour to go get him. And he was laying, he didn't move a muscle. I was looking at him in clear field. There was nothing between me and him, nothing, no how. And got within probably about 15 yards of him, and he got up and it started moving his way away again. And he wasn't moving all that fast, but he had a little bit of a clip to it. And I put another round through him. Well, at that point, I didn't know that I had hit him. I had a buddy with me, and he had tagged out for the season. And part of this cool story is if you're familiar with like Jim Shockey, where he puts his bow above his head, and he's walking like he's a moose or an elk or something like that. And we kind of did that with my shotgun. And my guy that was with me, he put his head between my shoulder blades, and we walked through this little bit of a low. We saw this buck come out. So we were trying to close the distance on him, and that's what we did. We actually did that Jim Shockey maneuver. And anyway, so I shot again. I was shaking. I was happy. Cool. It was a good buck, a good solid 8. And and he was still walking after my second shot. I'm like, dude, here. And I handed the gun to my buddy, and he popped him again. Went about another 20 or 30 feet, dropped, and come to find that there were 6 holes in that deer through the vitals.
Wow.
And, yeah, it was, and that's with a 2 3/4 inch, sabot slug. And I've shot deer with my broadheads, and you follow a trail that looks like a river of blood.
Exactly. And look at this one. This one's got 6 holes in it, and it's still going.
It's interesting you bring up this point. We ask about the memories or a story you're going to tell, but you bring up the resilience of these animals. And that just, to me, that shows the respect that you have for these animals.
Oh, absolutely. I kneel. Everyone, I kneel down, I put my hand on it, I look straight up, and give the big dude up there a nod and
Absolutely.
say thank you very much. And my uncle up there looking over me, helping me be safe and successful out there. And he taught me just about everything, my uncle and my grandfather. And but yeah, there's another one. Shoot, I like I said, I put a good, pump station shot on it. And, I'd watched like a river of blood following it. And somehow it made it dang near close to a half a mile. And I have no clue. It had to, spit out.
That's the amazing part of animals and how they survive, and
Absolutely.
with what they have to persevere through to get there, right? Yeah. And look what you went through with that one. Speaking of that, we've been talking about Lumenok this whole time, and we forgot one thing. Where can people go to find out more information about them? What's the website that they can go to look for Lumenok?
Lumenok.com, and right when you go on there, it's going to pop onto that pop onto the website, and you're going to get that Nocks selector feature, and that, it's very simple. Top one, compound crossbow. Next one is going to be, I get these messed up all the time, but the next two are the model and the manufacturer of the arrow. And right when you put your info in, it's going to pull you up to your nock. You pick your colors, and I do have all three of them sitting here with me. Let me fire them up here real quick.
So we can see what they look like. Yep, you just go over to Lumenok.com. You go to the second selection, the nock selector. Make your picks if you're going to use a crossbow or a regular bow. And you can see on the screen, if you're on the podcast, get to our live stream so you can see
what he's got right here.
There you go. What color is that?
That would be the pink.
All right.
The St. Jude's pink. You see, this is the one that stands out to me
the most, the
best. Yeah, and the HD orange is coming in going to come in a close second. And again, just thumb and forefinger. That one's off. You saw the green already. There's the HD orange.
Okay.
And then I'll fire up the original, the green, that was the first one that came out. I actually have one of my original GT Nocks that I had bought back in 2006 or whenever it was, and I still have it. It's still, if I put a battery in it, will light up just as bright as that one did, just there.
That's awesome. That is awesome. You know what, Bill? I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight. We've had you on for almost over an hour, it looks like, and we just wanted to thank you for coming on, talking with us about lighted nocks. And if you're all set, I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah, I tell you what, we're going to wrap up the podcast portion here. As soon as we're done here, Bill, hang with us. But for those of you on the podcast, we're going to wrap up the show tonight. Next week, we're going to attempt to have a show. It's going to be pre-recorded. If not, that's because Danny and I didn't get our work done here behind the scenes this week, and we're actually going to be up north. But we've got something planned. We're going to try to get that out to you. So stay tuned.
Don't blame me for that part.
Hey, it's hunting season. What can I say?
You gotta get out to the woods.
Yeah, absolutely. So everybody, So everybody on the podcast, make sure you go over to Facebook, give us a like, follow, share. Do the same for Lumenok as well. And we're on Twitter. We're on Instagram, check out
Twitter, Instagram,
YouTube. Go over there, give us a like, follow, share, and share the show for us if you would. And if you're listening on iTunes, make sure you go over and give us a review. That helps us out. And don't forget to go and check out the people who help us, our show sponsors that will actually save you some money in the long run. So that'll do it for us this week, folks. Y'all take care, and we'll be back again next week. All right.
For those of you on the live stream, final questions. If not, we're going to sign off for this week. And Tom Gensel says finally. And Terry says yes, websites are good. Yes, they are. But we'll I think we're all set there with questions, so I think we can wrap it up for the live stream.
Okay, for those of you on the live stream, same thing. Give us a like, follow, share, Facebook. Give us share the show if you like it. And do the same for Lumenok. Go over to their Facebook pages, all their social media sites as well. And as we said, for the podcast, folks, we're going to attempt to have a show next week. I've got it sitting in the computer. It just needs to be put together. And if I can get that done before I head up north, it'll be on next Sunday night. So y'all take care, and we'll see y'all again next week. As always, same time, 7 o'clock, right here on Facebook. Y'all take care.